Have you ever felt like the more patient you are, the more invisible you become? I used to think being kind and understanding was enough, until I realized I had disappeared from my own life. My name is Maya. I am 28-year-old, the story of always being the calm one, the safe place, the one who understood everyone, except herself. I wonder when being patient started to feel like being invisible. When listening turned into waiting. When understanding others became the reason no one tried to understand me. I kept telling myself this was what good people do. They stay calm. They give space. They forgive quickly. They explain less. But somewhere inside, something felt heavy. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just tired. Tired of holding everything together while pretending it was easy. Tired of being the safe place where everyone rested, then left. I never asked for much. I only wanted to be met halfway. Yet every time I adjusted, bent, or stayed quiet, the distance grew. And slowly, without anyone noticing, I learned what it feels like to disappear. I have always been the one who understands. The one who notices moods before words appear. I learned early how to read silence. In my family, emotions were handled quietly. Needs were pushed aside for peace. I became good at adjusting. Good at seeing other people first. Friends came to me when they were confused or hurt. I listened without rushing them. I stayed even when conversations became heavy. I told myself this made me strong. At work, I was the calm one. The one who accepted extra tasks without complaint. If someone forgot about me, I understood. If plans changed, I understood. If messages came late, I understood. Understanding felt like my role. It kept things smooth. It kept people comfortable. But it also kept me small. I rarely spoke about my own feelings. Not because I had none. But because I did not want to be a burden. I feared being seen as difficult. So I smiled. I nodded. I said it was okay. Even when it was not. I thought patience would bring closeness. I thought kindness would be returned. I thought being easy to be around meant being valued. But understanding became my identity. Without it, I felt unsure. I did not know how to ask. I only knew how to allow. And slowly, that choice began to cost me. There were days I felt the weight more clearly. Quiet mornings when my phone stayed still. Evenings when I replayed conversations in my head. I wondered if I had said too little, or maybe too much. I remembered how I showed up. How I checked in. How I waited. And how rarely that effort came back to me. People leaned on my understanding. They assumed I would stay calm. They assumed I would forgive. They assumed I would be there. So they did not ask. They did not check. They did not slow down for me. When I felt hurt, I explained it softly. When I felt ignored, I minimized it. I said I was fine before anyone could worry. I gave reasons for other people's behavior. They were busy. They were stressed. They did not mean it. I believed these explanations. I needed to believe them. Because admitting the truth felt heavier. The truth was that my feelings were often an afterthought. That my understanding made it easy to overlook me. I would sit in rooms full of people and feel alone. Not because no one was there. But because no one was really with me. I listened more than I spoke. And when I did speak, I softened everything. I removed the sharp edges of my pain. I wrapped it in kindness so it would be accepted. Still, it was often ignored. I watched people respond quickly to others. I noticed how energy changed when someone else spoke. I told myself not to compare. I told myself to stay grateful. But the ache stayed. It showed up in small ways. In the pause before I replied. In the way I stopped sharing good news. In the way I stopped expecting support. I began to prepare myself for disappointment. I lowered my hopes quietly. I told myself I did not need much. But needing less did not stop the hurt. It only made it lonelier. I felt tired in a deep way. Not physically. Emotionally. The kind of tired that sleep does not fix. I was tired of translating my pain into something acceptable. Tired of being patient while feeling overlooked. Tired of understanding everyone except myself. Some nights, I asked myself why I stayed this way. Why I kept choosing understanding over honesty. The answer was fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being too much. Fear of losing people. So I stayed quiet. I stayed kind. I stayed tired. And no one noticed how close I was to breaking. Because understanding people rarely ask for help. They assume they can handle it. Until one day, handling it feels impossible. That shift did not happen suddenly. It came in small moments. A pause before I replied. A feeling that whispered, "This hurts." I started noticing how often I excused behavior that hurt me. I noticed how rarely I felt considered. I did not become angry. I became honest with myself. I admitted I was tired. Not tired of people. Tired of disappearing for them. I realized that understanding should not mean self-erasing. That empathy should not require silence. I began to see my own patterns clearly. How I stayed flexible so others would not leave. How I stayed quiet so things would not change. And how that cost me connection. This awareness felt heavy, but also calm. Like finally naming a feeling. I did not blame anyone. I simply acknowledged myself. I allowed my feelings to exist without defending them. I stopped explaining them away. For the first time, I asked what I needed. The answer was simple. To be considered. To be met with effort. To be allowed to speak honestly. I understood that my worth was not tied to how easy I was. It was tied to my presence. And my presence mattered. Even if not everyone could see it. This did not make the loneliness disappear. But it changed how I carried it. I felt less broken. More aware. More real. I learned that understanding is a gift. And gifts deserve care. Not expectation. Now, I move differently. More gently with myself. I still understand people. But I no longer abandon myself to do it. I pause when something hurts. I let the feeling stay. I do not rush to explain it away. Some people notice the change. Some do not. And that is okay. I no longer measure my value by who stays. I measure it by how present I am with myself. There is still quiet. There is still longing. But there is also clarity. I am no longer tired of understanding. I am tired of being unseen. And now, I choose not to disappear. If you've ever felt invisible for being kind or patient, you are not alone. Subscribe and join me as we learn how to be seen, even when the world moves on without noticing.